If I had to pick my favorite Memphis May Fire song right now, I wouldn't be able to, and that's a great thing. I'm your host, Scandalous. Welcome to the podcast, the hitmaker himself, Matty Mullins of Memphis May Fire. Matty, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about this. Of course, I'm so excited to be talking to you. I would get up very early any day to talk to you, ha ha ha, because you're a morning person and I'm not. So
Yes, I
I
am a
like
morning
that.
person. I know it doesn't really work out for press too, because like most people want to do interviews or podcasts like in the later hours, and I'm like, if you can hit me at 8 a.m., I'm there. You know what I mean?
Hell, absolutely. I was like, yeah, I totally will. Yes. Yeah. And
Awesome.
my 8 a.m. is 10 a.m. So here we are.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for waking up for me.
Heck yeah. All day long. Absolutely. Well, right off the top, what's your favorite song right now? And who's your favorite band right now?
So I'm kind of all over the place. It's not as easy for me these days to really be like struck by something. It has to like, I guess if I'm just driving and something comes on and it like makes me tear up, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a hit. You know what I mean? So what would that be right now? Probably not what you would expect. Tate McRae. She's got a song that's called what is it called? Chaotic. First time I heard it. I mean, just like how the melody is written and how she can just portray like the inner turmoil when it comes through in a vocal. I don't know. I like all sorts of different music. I listen to everything. I'll even listen to country, you know what I mean? So like I'm all over the place, and yeah, that's that song. That song is rad. I love that song. I've listened to it a lot. I was on a flight all day yesterday and I listened to it a few times. It's so good. Been bumping the new Post Malone, obviously. That's the boy. There's this record called Remade in Misery by Memphis May Fire that's pretty good. I've been jamming that quite a bit.
Right. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. Okay. Tate McRae, who was that? Is she an alternative singer, kind of
She's a pop
folky
artist.
pop
Very much,
artist?
yeah,
Okay.
very much a pop artist. I think she's really young too, but I just kind of bounce around between stations and different, playlists and stuff like that, and I discovered that song on one of them. I'm sure a lot of people who are hearing this be like, Tate McRae, you listen to Tate? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, awesome, yeah.
Well, I listen to country too. So
Cool.
I love like death metal. I love country. I love folk. Like
Yeah,
folk is a great break from death metal. What do
totally.
you?
Yeah. We're on the same page. I'm all over the spectrum. So
Perfect. There you go. Well, just looking at you, and I know you know with that hair that there's a new season of Peaky Blinders out on Netflix right now. So I'm just assuming On Point Pomade sales must be through the roof right now. I'm just
yeah,
assuming.
that's our target market for sure. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I should have seen if we could run ads with that show, but it might have been out of our price range. I don't know.
With you? Oh, yeah. So when did you like start your journey with that hair and the hairstyle and, kind of thinking about formulating it, creating your own? How did that all come about?
Yeah, I mean, we were on tour. We were on Warp Tour in 2012, I think. And just like summer touring, like I always like to stay sharp. That's been a thing for me forever. Like I've always wanted to, men's grooming products and just like keeping myself in order. I think it helps me mentally too. You know what I mean? So like I just like to be neat. And like everything about my life is like in order, right? And so, naturally, like I wanted my hair, back then it was kind of more of like a pomp kind of thing. I wouldn't call it a pomp, but it was close. Um, and with how hot the shows were, like everyone's just sweating, drenched, like your hair gets messed up by song 2, and then all the photographers come out and take pictures. You're like, dang, I look awful by song 3. So it's like, I really want a hair product that can like hold my hair and we can, that I can play a whole show in and still look good, but I also don't want to use like a petroleum-based pomade because it's really hard to wash out, and showers are few and far between on Warped Tour and everything. So I just started trying to mix and blend different products to see exactly what it was that I liked about each one. And I met a guy from Oregon who is a scientist, and we kind of just talked back and forth. I was like, I want this pomade, and I want it to hold like this pomade, but I want it to wash out like this pomade, but I want it to smell like my scent. Like I want that, to be specific to me. And we went back and I mean, like it was versions after versions after versions, and finally landed on one. And I was like, this is awesome. And I used it for a long time. And then I was like, I think other people would like this too, And so we made it available to the public in 2016, I believe, On Point Pomade.
That's so exciting. And that's so nice that you like had something to work on already done, like with the pandemic. That's like one thing to keep you sane, like during that time.
Yeah. So the pandemic, we didn't like a lot of online businesses exploded during the pandemic because people weren't able to go places. We didn't go crazy and we didn't sink. It was awesome as we kind of just like stayed steady because yes, online sales were the way, but also people weren't styling their hair as much because they weren't going.
Oh, there you go.
So,
yep.
So yeah, like our we have like an amazing foundation customer base that will always be there, and it was awesome. But we didn't have like the like companies like Zoom, right? Like just explosive and other e-commerce stuff, like groceries and all sorts of things. But for us, it was just like, all right, we're cruising. We're not going to die through this thing, and we're also not going to become the next, Jeff Bezos. So,
hey, there you go. I don't know. He gets a lot of flack. Maybe that's a good thing. We're just chill, just relax. People talk about him a lot. Yeah, you need to be talked about so much in life. Well, I was checking out the site last night for On Point Pomade, and I saw your video. And anytime I can spread some happiness in the world and positivity, I take it. So tell us about the whole Nashville Street Barbers video that I saw last night, because I was happy and I liked it.
Yeah, it's actually a rad question because it ties into some band stuff currently, which is awesome. So the Nashville Street Barbers is a group of different barbers and cosmetologists that go downtown and devote their time. I think they do it. It's at least once a week, I think. But they go down and they will literally do a cut for anybody, free of charge. Anybody, like for the homeless population, for anyone who's down there just struggling, whatever. And it's so much more than a haircut. They're obviously going to get like a world-class haircut by these amazing stylists, but they also have the conversation aspect of it, and I think if there's one thing that, the homeless population needs, it's people making them feel human, like if you're so just disconnected when you're struggling and looking for whatever the next step is going to be, sitting down in a barber chair and having someone just ask you about your life, ask you how things are going, and just the ability to share is a really beautiful thing. So very cool, Nashville Street Barbers. And the way that ties in, the guy that started it, his name is Abishai. He's a barber at 4010 Barber Studio here in Nashville, but he's also the drummer for Wolves at the Gate. And they are the opening band on our headline tour that starts in like 10 days. So Abishai will be out with his hair kit and doing cuts out there. And so very, very cool. I'm very proud of him. He is an awesome dude.
Wow. So he can go out on the road and do good on the road.
Yeah, he can do it all. Yeah. He'll do cuts for the band, and I think for anybody else who needs it. So
that's so cute. I love that. Yeah. Well, isn't that happy? That's awesome. These are such weird, crazy times right now. Are there any social justice issues that have popped up that have been really heavy on your heart, like the past few years? Because it is crazy times out there. And I know you have a very strong faith. I do as well. I'm Christian as well. And I love to talk about it as much as possible. And I think it's really cool to be able to be honest with like what's on our heart and how we're feeling in really weird times as Christians, and like have the opportunity to actually talk about it. So
yeah, for sure. The answer is yes. And the answer is also that, I just don't use my music platform to talk about politics or usually like social issues. The thing is like, for sure. Of course, those things are heavy in my heart. I think that the solution to all of those issues doesn't happen on social media. The solution to those issues starts right where you are, in your neighborhood, your neighbors, the people the people you can love, the people you can reach out to, and the people that you can impact. And so we do that, like we make an effort to do that, but people follow me for my music, and I want to respect that. I think that going off on, for sure, about this or that, I think that in a way that's abusing this platform that I've been given for music,
Very cool answer. And I love that answer. And that's great.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I still think that was really awesome and really cool. And a last kind of question like that, because I saw this as well. I saw that your wife started a nonprofit as well called Beneath the Skin. And it's kind of like a big brothers, big sisters kind of thing. And I was, stalking on Instagram last night, checking that out. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It is so awesome. Yeah. So a lot of people, just because I've helped with spreading the word about it, think that I have something to do with it. Obviously, I'm a massive supporter, but it's 100% my wife, Brittany. She has done an incredible job facilitating this nonprofit where they are a mentoring program, a peer-to-peer mentoring program for young women all over the United States. And what they'll do is, if you sign up to be a mentee, then there will be a mentor. You can sign up as a mentor as well, but there's a mentor somewhere in the States where they'll team you up, and you'll just walk through a 12-month season together. Somebody to be there for you and talk through things. Having a safe person to talk to that's outside of your immediate circle and that's outside of your immediate family is so incredibly beneficial. That's why therapy is so incredibly beneficial. And obviously, the mentors are not mental health experts or professionals, but they are a human being that just wants to listen and just wants to be there for you, And if there's anything that I've learned over the last couple of years, it's that people really need people, and they need an open ear. And so it's a really, really amazing program. The website is beneaththeskinonline.org, and definitely check it out.
Yeah. Awesome. And we are coming out of the pandemic. We have this beautiful new album. What are you proudest of about it? I mean, it's like every song is a single. Mm. They hit me the same way, where it's just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm going through right now. But it's like 4 or 5 songs, like all of them. And I feel equally like, oh my God, that song's great. Oh my God, that song's great. So do you just feel like alive and on fire and more passionate about music than you ever have?
Yeah. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. This is my favorite time in the band's history, of 15 years. The pandemic was obviously an awful time and affected everybody in a negative way. For us, there was also a silver lining, right? We had an opportunity to make a record like we did when we were kids, which was no time limit, no expectations, no other opportunities for us to pursue at all. Like, it was only about the music, and I haven't felt that way in over a decade, right? And so to have that and just to really zone in and be like, I know what we've been trying to do over the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And I know that we've always made a conscious effort to try to respect our roots and move forward, but who are we? Who is Memphis May Fire? And it's like, well, if you go back to what, who we were when we first started out, there's so much angst and curiosity and just danger, adventure, and I think that gets lost along the way for every band as you start to figure out the process and kind of know what you're going for, and you try to maybe adapt to a certain formula and this and that. And a lot of those things are subconscious. You don't even realize you're doing it. You just see like kind of the movement of the industry going like this, and you're like, okay, this way, all right, this way. And there was nobody to tell us where to go or what to do or how to sound or anything. And so we rediscovered the angst from our younger years, and we adapted all of the knowledge that we learned along the way, and we created this album that we're so incredibly proud of. And the best part about it is that we had fun making it. It like making music can definitely be not fun if you have deadlines and expectations and a lot of people in your ear. It's like that can really ruin the passion of music. But as soon as it becomes a job, you're like, I don't have a choice. This is I got to do this, right? And that this album was not that, and our fans can feel that and they connect with that. And it just feels like, I've said this in other interviews too, but I think for the first time in a long time, I'm a fan of Memphis May Fire, and it's cool.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever heard someone else say that in an interview. Like, I'm a fan of what we do.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
A lot of times it can't feel that way. You're so like wrapped up in so many things, and you're just hoping that the voices on the other end will be like, good job, I like that. And you're like, thank you. It's my art, so I'm glad that you care. But this time, like making this album, especially like the way that we wrote it over the pandemic and everything, I just had an opportunity to connect with the songs, even myself, you know, like to write them and then go back and rediscover them in a new way. And it's been really cool.
Absolutely. And the whole reason why I ever started doing interviews was just to be able to say thank you. And I've had so much time with your music. And so many times I was just driving down the road and I heard it on Sirius and I was like, yeah, yes. So, thank you as well. I feel the exact same way. And it's just so good. And I'm such a fan and I feel it so much.
You are
really
awesome.
Do.
Thank you so much. That's very cool.
Absolutely. Well, I've seen that emo hair in your wedding photo. So I know you started singing young. How did you find your singing voice and your voice as a frontman at such a young age?
I think I'm still finding it, to be totally honest.
Well, you still have great hair, so we still have. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. It's if you go back through all of our records, you know, my voice can kind of sound significantly different album to album, and I think it's you know, the whatever season of life I'm in, what I'm being influenced or inspired by, it just naturally happens. I've never gone into the vocal booth and been like, I'm gonna sound like this. It's like I'll just go in and I'll sing something. However that comes out is how it comes out. And it seems to always be like progressing, not like I'm getting better, but I'm just getting different on every record. You know what I mean? So like when I was young, you know, my first time on stage, I was 6 years old performing with my brother's band, just like yelling into a microphone. It was like the grunge era, and they had this like grungy kind of project, and it was cool. It was a ton of fun. And then I was at karaoke one time. There's this girl that I liked, and there was cosmic bowling, and then there was karaoke in the next room, and we were like doing both those, and I sang a Backstreet Boys song or something. I was so young. And everyone was like, whoa. And I was like, what? Like, was that all right? And they're like, that was great. I was like, really? So it was awesome. Just kind of like realizing that, you know, this thing that I loved to do, and also was, you know, this thing that I was born with the desire to pursue, like could make people happy. I think that was like the driving force. Right. And so I just starting bands, you know. I've been in bands my entire life, you know, and obviously Memphis being the longest one, but yeah, I'm constantly discovering and rediscovering my voice and just trying to do it the right way so I can do it for as long as possible.
Awesome. And I heard you telling a story where you were 16 and going to go play shows for like 600 and 700 people.
Yeah, I mean, we were I got really, really blessed when I was at a young age. There were some, you know, older guys, you know, guys that were older than me, like in their 20s, that were in bands in the area that I grew up in, Spokane, that were like seasoned musicians. They were great at what they did, and they wanted to play music with me. And so I got just, you know, the opportunity of a lifetime to play with guys that knew so much more than I did, not only about just music, but about the business side of music and how it works. And, you know, we were driving all over the Pacific Northwest and playing shows. And my teachers were letting me do my homework on the road. And I actually proposed to my wife on stage in Portland, when we were juniors in high school. And yeah, I did that a lot, and it was a ton of fun. And that's what gave me my passion for touring in the first place.
Juniors in high school, you say?
Yeah.
So of course, like, I checked out y'all's social media. I learned all about your relationship, how long you guys have been together. But juniors in high school, that is like so Romeo and Juliet. I love that.
It is awesome. Yeah, we are high school sweethearts, and we're stoked about that.
That is so nice to hear. You know, because you only hear about like how relationships go wrong. And I was really struck by y'all's relationship of like, wow. And I heard you talking about the key to staying together, like as you grew up, was just supporting each other's dreams. Like her allowing you to pursue pursue your dream and then you allowing her to pursue her dream. And I
Yeah,
think that's such a key.
totally. Supporting each other doesn't mean just like cheering someone on from the sidelines. It means making actual hard choices and compromising in ways that could potentially like be a thing that you didn't see happening, but it's something that they need to happen. And I mean, like, we moved to Dallas from Spokane for my career, and then once the band got settled in, we moved from from Spokane to Dallas, and then from Dallas to Atlanta for my wife's, and then from Atlanta to Seattle for my wife's career, and then to Nashville for my career. And it's like we've constantly just been kind of supporting each other in ebbs and flows. But Brittany, really took the brunt of it when the band was starting out, and we had 5 years of just grinding and always being gone and not making any money. It was a tough time. And so, yeah, she's been incredible. And I try to be there as much as I can to support anything that she wants to do.
That's awesome. I love that. So, quick question. I'm also from Dallas. What years were you guys in Dallas, and where did y'all hang out during that time? Because I was like, Dallas. I never saw y'all out. Like, were you guys in Deep Ellum? Like, what year was this? I was curious about all that.
Totally. We moved there in 2000, end of 2008. And I think that we were there until 2012, I believe. My memory's terrible. But we right when we moved there, we moved to Farmers Branch. And we were like in this apartment complex is right across the street from a Lenny's sub shop. And I loved it. And then we moved from there to Plano, and we were living at this place called the Shops at Legacy, or the Shops of Legacy. I can't remember. In Plano, we were there for a little while. Danny from Asking Alexandria moved in. We hung out like all the time. And then like a year later, we both split, and I moved to Euless from there. And then we were in Euless for a little while, and then I think we moved from Euless to Atlanta. So,
okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was never any of those places, but I was such a Deep Ellum girl. So I was like, are they ever in Deep Ellum? Like, my Deep Ellum is like your Spokane stories that you have. I was like, hey, it's the glory days of like, oh, that bar was so great. I love that bar. And I just never seen you out. So
totally,
super curious about that.
I love Deep Ellum too. I mean, like whenever we play the Door or anything like that.
The Door.
Yeah. Trees, whatever. Like going down there is definitely fun. It's a cool area.
Yeah. Did you ever used to go to Reno's?
Ooh, I don't think so.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Reno's was definitely a bar I had no business being at, and it was very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like lots of like biker bars. And I like think about how young I was. And I was like, I had no business being there at all. But it was very fun to go after shows.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I think that was like my Sons of Anarchy stage for sure.
Okay.
I look at that and I was like, oh my God, like what was I doing? So
yeah.
No idea. Very funny.
Yeah, I've got a lot of seasons in my life like that. I look back and I'm like, dude, what were you thinking?
Yeah. It's very silly. I've always wanted to know, where does the name Memphis May Fire come from?
It actually doesn't have a meaning. The band was under a different name it was like, Oh Captain, My Captain. And then right when they were about to sign their first record deal, found out there was another band called Oh Captain, My Captain that was going to put up a huge fight. They're from Canada or something like that. And so everybody kind of threw their ideas into a hat, and the band became a mixture of everyone's ideas, and it has no meaning. It's just Memphis May Fire.
Okay, great. Well, that's positive. Everyone was heard. No one was mad.
Yeah,
sounds great. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to some of the music. Where do I even start with so many albums? So I love to be sentimental, and you have a very colorful life and past and everything. I thought it would be kind of a cool idea to just kind of go album by album. And then I have some questions like mixed in with those.
Yeah.
and just kind of, like what comes to mind? What were you going through? What were you feeling musically and like in your heart during that time? So I kind of like wrote down all the albums and we can just go through them. That was an idea I had. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So we have Sleepwalking from 2009.
Yep. So, I had just moved from Spokane to Dallas to join the band, and all the instrumentals for that album were already done, and the original singer had just left. And we went back to Seattle, where the record was being recorded, and me and Kellen lived out there for a month, and I, wrote and recorded all the vocals for the record. And Casey Bates is the guy that did the record. He's awesome. I felt like I was out of my league. I didn't, this is the first time in such a serious project and, that carried so much weight. And I was so excited, and it was such a professional environment, and it was so electric, and it was just a really cool experience, I remember like every day I would walk down to the Safeway at the bottom of the hill and get a ham and cheese hot pocket and stop at Starbucks and got a latte. And then I would go back up and eat cheese and drink milk before singing, which is the dumbest thing. I was a kid, and we had a great time. Yeah, that record was fun to make.
Well, that's very endearing. That's the kind of stuff I want to know, and that's like what I want to know, like where you're feeling, because that's so human and so relatable. Like feeling a little out of your league and listening to you sing, we can just connect to it because we all have those feelings and those thoughts. All the time.
Yeah, totally.
I like that. And how else would we get that great story of you drinking milk and eating cheese? So all the singers listening will be like, what?
Yeah. It was not the right choice. That's for sure.
That's funny. Okay. So The Hollow from 2011.
Yeah. Cameron Mizell, we met him, the producer of that record, and asked him, we had just gotten off of out of our previous record deal, and asked Cameron if he would do an album for us pro bono, because we had no money, but we were like, when we sign, obviously the budget will be paid to you. And he was gracious and agreed to that. So we drove down to Orlando and started making a record. I didn't have anything written because we had just done the Between the Lies EP to deliver that as our final, work for the previous record label. And I remember I was thinking it was going to be this big fancy place, but we roll up and it was actually just a storage unit that was converted into a studio. And there was like a cockroach in the bathroom, and there's nowhere to sleep except for, like some air mattresses, but they would deflate in a matter of like an hour. So I put an air mattress in the vocal booth, and because that was the coldest room in the whole studio. And I slept in there on an air mattress. But then by the time I woke up, I was on the ground with the cockroaches. And we did 2 albums there. We did that record and Challenger there. It's called Chango Gridlock. And it was awesome. It was crazy. And like right now in this season of my life, like you could not pay me enough to go and do that. You know what I mean? Because it was disgusting. But it was a special place where a lot of really, really amazing albums were created, like other bands, and this whole kind of boom, this era of music kind of just exploded out of that studio, Sleeping with Sirens and Oceana and, obviously like Broadway, the band that, our drummer came from. And just there was a bunch of amazing records that were made there. Cameron was amazing, but it was awesome, like definitely a different pace than our previous record, and in a great way. Creatively, we just felt like it was our time to shine. And as soon as that record, as soon as the first single from that record came out, that's when people really started paying attention to us as a band. So it's cool.
Wow. Again, great stories. This is definitely one of my favorite podcast episodes ever.
Yeah.
So people would look at you now and like look at the success that you have and just never know that about your band.
Oh, yeah.
And the production, like of everything you guys have, is so pro and slick and beautiful. And they would just like never know that you had that season in your life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I could go on for days about without having any money. Like back in the day, I had multiple times where, you just ask if you can stay at anybody's house while you're on tour, and I did. And I would wake up to people like taking pictures of me sleeping. That we're living.
Oh my God.
Like we did that for a long time. To get to where we are today. So yeah, I could tell some crazy stories.
That is the most unnerving thing I can imagine.
Yep.
That's wow.
Yep.
That's terrible. Okay. Well, next up is unconditional, and knowing a lot about your life leading up to this interview. There's going to be a lot to talk about here. It all started with the craziest plane ride of your life. Mm-hmm. Let's start there and then just kind of talk about some of the most important things in your life that have ever happened to you.
Yeah. Geez. So it's a loaded one. I'll try to make it quick. Like we were on tour a lot, and I wasn't treating my body great. We just, the hustle and how everything was moving at that point, it was faster than I felt like I could keep up with. And you just do things to try to cope and just to try to be present. And I mean, like even down to like the food that you eat, you're just eating like whatever you can, whenever you can, to like get to the next thing, meet and greet, and then sound check, and then this and that. And like this interview has to happen right now. And then this, you know what I mean? So, I just didn't realize that the toll that touring was taking on me. And, I wasn't in a great place mentally, even though I hadn't realized that, because everything looked like and felt like it was going right. You know what I mean? And then I had this plane ride from Orlando to Pensacola that was really, really life-changing. Everyone on the flight thought that we were going to die. And so having that kind of like near death, or so it felt, experience, and then landing, I just never felt the same after that. I felt like the chemistry of my body had changed, and it felt so strange. I felt off, like physically off balance, like as I was like moving through life. And a few days after that, I had a panic attack for the first time ever. I didn't even know what it was. I thought that I was actually losing my mind, or having a heart attack, and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor came out. He said, what do you do? And I was like, I tour for a living. And he's like, well, I think it's time for you to slow down. And I was like, LOL, and that's not going to happen. And he gave me a bottle of Xanax, sent me on my way. And the Xanax, didn't do a lot for me. I felt just scared of being in my own skin. And while we were on that tour, my wife had moved from Atlanta to Seattle. The company that she was working for had moved our things for us, so I didn't have to be present to help. And I came home to a new home that I had never lived in, that Britt was already established in, and I just felt so disconnected, so emotionally like not there. It felt strange, and it's hard to explain. But the panic attacks didn't stop, because I was so scared of them not knowing what they were, that was feeding it, and just became this vicious cycle. And that led to depression, because the feeling of hopelessness is, am I going to feel like this forever? I can't live like this. It just forced me to say, okay, either I am going to pray and ask God to take this away and believe that He actually cares, or I'm going to walk away from God altogether, because I can't believe that, a loving father would allow their child to experience this thing. And my wife and I got involved with the new church in Seattle, which was awesome. And it just was like so life-giving and so different from anything I'd ever experienced up to that point. And it was just time for me to discover what my faith was going to look like outside of just what my parents had instilled in me. It was time for God to either become real or not real to me. Like I had to make that decision. What do I believe? And I started going to therapy. It was only a year later when we moved to Tennessee, and I started going to therapy in Tennessee, and it was so helpful. And I just dove in on my relationship with God, and I realized, after therapy and medication and all the things that I think are vital for anybody struggling with any mental health issue, I realized that the way that I was raised and how I was raised to, like, if God wants to take it away, pray and He'll do it, and if not, then blah blah blah. And you're just like, I think that we have a lot more free will than that. Christians don't ever talk about how, the body that we live in and the world that we live in, the corruption, and just the way that we treat our bodies and everything, like those things are all our choice. And so when something happens, just trying to pray it away is, like, it's not that God can't do that, but it's just not real. It's, in most cases, it's not going to happen, right? And God gave us therapy, and God gave us medication, like through people who He created, is my personal belief, that are incredible tools to work through mental health issues. And so I utilized all of that, and getting to the other end of that season, had realized that God was with me the entire time. He didn't abandon me. He didn't turn his back on me. It was a very important season for me to go through, to understand myself in a whole new way, and to understand Him, and to have a whole new level of empathy for anybody struggling with mental health issues, because that would soon become a passion of mine, and is a massive passion of mine. So Unconditional was written during that whole time frame and recorded. And that, there's songs on there like Sleepless Nights about what it's like to have a panic attack. And there's songs on there, like No Ordinary Love, which is like, I am now at 20, whatever I was when we were recording that, starting to realize what it's actually like to be loved by the supernatural creator of the universe. Like it's just all craziness happening. And so that is that record. That's how that record came together. It's a very strange mixture of lyrical content that you would never expect in a heavy record. But it's there, and that's what I was doing at that time.
And very literal. And I feel like I'm kind of being drawn to that place as well. Like, I've experienced things in my life can really be whatever I want it to be. And I kind of think like I've gone through a few things the past few years because God, and this is kind of why I'm so excited to be talking to you, because I think you really went through that as well. I'm so excited to be talking to you about it, because I really feel that like God brought me through a few things. So I will kind of like rely on Him and, really focus on our relationship. So
no doubt.
Yeah, it's my like favorite thing to talk about in interviews is my faith, because I'm super like metal chick. So anytime I can, be like, yeah, I got to school. I like God. I like to do that. It's fun for me.
Too. I think in a world that, is not excited about anybody talking about Jesus for the most part, I think talking about Jesus is the most punk rock thing you can do.
Totally.
And I mean, that's who I am, and so regardless of, like, you can like my band and not agree with my faith, and that's awesome. We can still be really close and hang out, and I love you. It's no big deal. But if you do want to know who I am at my core, like, we're gonna talk about Jesus for sure.
Yeah, there you go. And it's so it's such like a really cool blessing. Like, I've gotten to talk to Sunny from POD about it, and a few other people, and it's just like, it's a wild, really cool thing. So thank you for
awesome.
talking. Yeah. Totally. And Jesus would be on stage with you playing bass, he would be like next to me at a metal show. So
100%. Yep.
Totally. Well, and I know we're like making this quick and kind of short because, you could really spend like an hour on your entire experience with all that. But in case someone is out there and they're really desperate, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the 2 different therapies that you went through to overcome your depression that just helped you, in case there's someone out there who doesn't know about them, and this could be their lifeline.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you have access to therapy, I would recommend it for anybody and everybody, no matter what you're going through, no matter what walk of life you come from. Therapy is so incredibly impactful. I did traditional counseling, which is awesome. And then I also did EMDR therapy to try to work through some traumatic moments. And both those things were unbelievably impactful. So if you have access to that, if you can, sometimes your insurance will cover it. Sometimes you can find a therapy center that operates on a sliding scale of income. So if you don't make very much money, then you don't have to pay very much money, and it's awesome. So just look out for opportunities to see someone and talk to someone. And if you can't do that, there's all sorts of resources online, whether it be through Beneath the Skin, my wife's nonprofit, or Heart Support. Jake Fleurs from August Burns Red, his nonprofit. There's a lot of really great resources that you can utilize. And I would just recommend fighting for happiness, because I think the hardest thing is having to put in work to overcome something that you didn't ask for in the first place. But it's worth it. Life is beautiful. It's right in front of you. You just have to, have a mindset shift, and that takes work sometimes.
Absolutely. And this has kind of been heavy on my heart, and I want to just kind of talk about it. And I thought it was really wild that the metal community, we just lost another person, Trevor from Black Dahlia,
Mm.
and sometimes like artists can really only understand things from other artists. And I know that you've really experienced really dark times and really dark thoughts yourself. Like, is there, did you have any thoughts about like when he passed, or just like, God, I've been there, I've felt that, and like anything you would like kind of just want to relay to people who are having, you know, really dark thoughts?
Yeah. Um, if you get to the point where no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you've seen, no matter what you've done, if you get to the point where you believe that life cannot get any better, you're wrong. You have believed a lie in that moment. And it is so important to understand that human beings are full of emotions and full of thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. Sometimes you can acknowledge a thought as it passes by and say, wow, well, I'm not going to act on that. You can acknowledge an emotion and say, man, I'm okay with feeling that, but I don't have to feel that forever. And when you start to believe that you would be better off dead, it's time to talk to somebody, because you are not right. That is not the truth. No matter, absolutely does not matter what you've been through, does not matter how you feel, does not matter what you're going through. All of those things are important, but none of them ever, ever justifies not being here. You are here for a reason, and you don't understand that yet. And that's a beautiful thing. Life is full of mystery. Life is full of wonder. Life is full of surprises. And there is joy, and there is peace, and there is freedom from all the things that you're feeling. But it is not to take your own life. That was never, ever, ever the plan.
Thank you, Maddie.
Mm.
And I feel like that is going to touch so many people. And I think that is like one of the most heartfelt things I've ever heard from an artist. And thank you for that. That's just, that was really the right thing to say. That was just really a beautiful way to put that. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, finishing up albums, next was The Light I Hold from 2016.
Yeah, we did that record in Phoenix with Matt Good. I had Cameron Mizell come in and work on vocals with me. And it was a really cool experience. Matt's awesome. He's really talented. If you don't know Matt, he was in a band called From First to Last. And he's just a rad dude in general. He's got a ton of talent and a really great ear for things, and loves gear. And he's all, him and Kellen got along really good. It was awesome. And yeah, it was a fun time making that record. Collaborating and doing a song with Jacoby from Papa Roach, Dream Come True. I had Larry Solomon from My American Heart, one of my all-time favorite bands, was on that album as a guest vocalist as well. So it was just kind of an iconic moment, and we went and shot a music video in LA that was crazy with me and Jacoby. Like, he got kidnapped and I was in court and like all this stuff. And it was just fun to make, it was the closest I'll ever get to like making a movie. And it was cool. Yeah, it was a ton of fun making that record. I think that was kind of the beginning of a new season for us, where I was a little bit just confused about who we were. And so we would have songs where it would be like, okay, that makes sense, it feels good. And we'd have other songs where I'm like, I don't know if this is connecting or not, but we only have this much time, let's put it out, and then that happened. And then I'll just take it for you to the next record, to Broken, we decided to really pursue rock radio, which I think is awesome to do. And there's such an amazing community of rock listeners, and it's a beautiful place. But I think that when we were making that record, we didn't understand, we went to Vegas and we were working with a new producer we had never worked with before. And I think that we thought that the record had to be a certain way for it to do what we needed it to do. And we had made a mistake in thinking that the whole record needed to be that way. And so we put that record out, and obviously a handful of songs on there that did great and went to radio, and we had success with it, and it was awesome. And I'm so thankful for that experience. It was a learning experience, but all of that, and that whole process, that whole touring cycle and everything brought us to this moment right now. Everything led to Remade in Misery. You have to, as a band, go through ebbs and flows. You have to have successes and failures and fall on your face to learn and to grow and to get better. And most importantly, never give up. And everything led to this moment. And we took, like I said, everything from our early years and everything we learned through every other album on the way. And we adapted all of that knowledge and all of that passion into this new record. And we're really proud of it.
And I think it's some of the best songs and metal I've ever heard in my entire life.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Have you ever heard another artist kind of admit that like maybe this wasn't what we should have done? On a side note, I don't think I've ever heard anyone do that before.
I don't know. I mean, like I'm always just going to be honest with, like in every season we're like, all right, just go. And then you look back at it and you're like, we could have made a different decision that would have served us better and served our fan base better. And, like, it's okay to look back and see that. If you can't admit that you've made some wrong decisions, then you're not going to avoid making them again in the future. And that's us. Like we are constantly learning. We're a work in progress, as is every band. And I think that finding your successes is important. And I think admitting to, failures is just as important. Our fans are not just like numbers. They're people. They're our friends. They're the reason why we get to do what we do. So being honest and talking about everything and sharing everything is what you do with family,
I really like that a lot. And I think that's musically, and I think that's life as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool to talk about. And I just don't think I've ever heard anyone really do that before. And I had heard you say that once or twice. And I was like, wait, hold on. I was in my kitchen listening to pod. I was like, whoa, what did he say? Hold on. What?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's the truth.
That's a really cool way to think about it for sure. I like that a lot. Very cool. It's about character too. I'm a very big character person.
Yeah.
And when you can be honest, and my favorite thing in the world is accountability. There's nothing to be accountable for, but I just love really good character. And that's a great character builder when you can honestly look at something in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah. And the pandemic was the greatest thing to do that. I think everybody being forced to slow down, you had to look, internally and be like, am I happy where I'm at? Am I doing what I want to do? Is there a better path for me? Can I be better in this way? It really forces you to look. And so it was a good learning experience for us.
Well, AJ Channer is the realist, a very beautiful, deep, passionate soul. I'm so glad that you guys did a song together. How did that happen? How'd you guys link up? Have y'all been hanging out?
Talking? Yeah, we've toured together in the past and just got to know each other. And I mean, he's so rad. We've always had a good time with those dudes. Everybody in the band is awesome. And when Kellen sent over this instrumental idea to begin with, the way that riff sounds and feels in the verse, we both instantly thought about AJ. I was like, dude, if we could get him and his flavor on this song, verse 1 and verse 2, it would bring it to life in a whole new way. And so we sent it over. He loved it. He wrote on it, sent it back. I mean, really fast. He's so talented, and just killed it. Just killed it. He's the only guest vocalist on the record, and deservingly. I mean, just took that song to a whole new level, and it wouldn't be what it is without him. So I'm really stoked. Me
too. And so everyone out there, the song's called Only Human, and it's so in your face from the beginning. It's exactly no one else could do what he did on that song.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everyone out there, for your fans, kind of walk us through what you were feeling while you're writing the different songs on the album, everything that's out right now.
I mean, yeah, I wrote over the course of about a year, wrote and recorded over the course of about a year. And, every song is a different season of life. The album is called Remade in Misery, and that means to be forged in the fire. It's about going through the hardest moments in our lives and how that is the only way for us to become the best versions of ourselves. So to view, hard seasons and awful times in life as a teacher rather than an enemy, to see that coming on and to say, okay, this is not going to be fun, but I'm going to learn something. And I am going to be better because of it. As human beings, I mean, we're naturally just wanting to be comfortable all the time. And the only way that we'll ever grow is if we're forced to grow. And that's what happens when we go through tough things. So that's what the whole album is about. And every song really is about a new season of misery, about a new season of growth, a new thing that I went through, or somebody that I, truly love and care for that they went through and I observed. So yeah, I mean, as you go through them, you can just kind of, I hope that you can see where I'm coming from. And I made videos that we posted to talk about the meaning behind each song. But I also want the songs to become about the listener. I want anyone to listen and just be like, oh my gosh, like this is my story. That's the greatest honor of being a songwriter, is being able to connect with someone like that. So.
Absolutely. And kind of to what you're talking about, one thing I've found in the past few years, like things that I've needed to face head on and I haven't done yet, or I keep learning my lesson, but not really. Yeah. And one thing I found is like when you don't face them, they never go away.
Yep.
Like it doesn't go away and it doesn't change until you face it. And I feel like your music is kind of leading me towards that, of like it's your choice kind of feeling. And I've been like working out and like on my bike and like out listening to songs over and over again. And it feels like a really good, like, okay, it's now or never kind of feeling.
That makes me so stoked. You have no idea. That's so awesome.
I've been in such like a heavy music phase. And I've really missed, like some rock aspects of it. And I've been missing that kind of music. And your songs have come back in my life where they've been like light and happy and deep and meaningful, and have like really made me fall back in love with like, the kind of music I've loved for a long time, but I just haven't heard anything that I really liked.
Yeah. So
there's like so many songs out there that I think are lazy songwriting. Like the lyric, what is it? Remind me real quick. Heavy is the head that wears a false crown.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So in the past 2 or 3 years, there have been so many songs that I have heard on like Sirius or from other artists that they're doing plays on those lyrics, and it's lazy.
Yeah.
Like heavy is the head that wears a false crown. That's songwriting. That's a unique idea. I've heard so much crap, like so many. I've heard so many songs that are just lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy songwriting. And I was like, that's not lazy. Like that's new.
Thank you. That's very cool. It's definitely the goal in the writing process, trying to figure out a way to make something feel fresh. And so that's awesome. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's like the total playlist I'm listening to right now to like, hey girl, it's your choice. If you want different things, are we going to like stay on the same path, or are we going to do some new things?
Yeah. That's
your
awesome.
Choice.
That's such a gift to hear that. And it's very cool. And I hope next time we're in Austin, we get to hang out and chat in person. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Y'all are going to be here in a few weeks. So I will definitely be at the show. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So on a lighter note, Mr. Barbecue, Austin's like the barbecue place ever. Yes. So I have Terry Black's down the road from me, and I go all the time. So what are, without saying, oh yeah, I got into barbecue, what are like a few things that's like, okay, do this, don't do this. This is what I found out.
Like tips on barbecue?
Yeah. Instead of like, no, all killer, no filler. Like, what do you really do? Like, what do people need to do?
Totally. So, like good barbecue is as simple as a correct internal temp. Like that's what I've learned more than anything. And there's, if any barbecue people are listening to this, I'll get flack, whatever. But the most important piece of equipment in all of barbecue is your instant read thermometer. You should have a really great instant read thermometer. For me, I use the Thermopin MK4 or MK5, something like that. Thermopin makes great thermometers. And I would just say get one of those if you're using like a old smoker or a new smoker, a new grill, whatever it is. Good meat is a good internal temp. That's what it's all about. Also, like when it comes to briskets and things, don't be afraid to trim. Like for me, like you get a really, really nice cut of meat. I do a lot of like Wagyu briskets and stuff like that, and you feel bad trimming because it's such an expensive cut. But to get an optimal product, to get the best product possible, you really do have to trim, and you have to trim in the right way. With tri-tip, slice it the right way. If you slice it the wrong way, it's going to be chewy. You slice it the right way, it's going to be tender. With fillets, don't be scared to eat them rare. They're good that way, and I promise you won't get sick. Hopefully, actually. Yeah, I don't know. That's a huge topic for me. I am such a big fan of that whole world, and definitely love my Traegers. So
I can tell, look at your face. Why didn't I lead with that? I'm regretting it now. Just look at your face. Oh my gosh, I should have just yelled barbecue at you when we first started, and you've been like, "Oh my god, let me tell you about barbecue."
It has been it's been a really fun thing, and I am not at all a pit master. I'm just excited the things that I have learned, and I love to cook for my friends. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like for people just listening on the podcast app and not on YouTube, he is lit up like a Christmas tree right now. His face is like lit up more than I've seen it the entire time. Yeah. So funny. I didn't know that's like a button. Just if you ever meet Matty, just yell barbecue and he'll light up.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's true. If you want to talk for hours, let's talk meat.
That is so funny. Well, last question. I have an alternative last question, but it's kind of weird. So we'll see. But I did want to ask, I always think to myself, like, okay, what do people who have achieved their dreams, which I know like it's still a dream for you, the band and the music and, making it work. It's like still a big gut wrenching heart thing. But like, what else do you dream about besides music? Like, what are your dreams in life right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think that always my main goal in life has just been to be the best husband that I can be. I've seen, I have a lot of friends that I look up to in that regard, and I've also seen a lot of failed marriages, and just try to adapt everything that I learned to just be the person that my wife deserves to be married to. Because that's more important than music. That is my legacy. Maybe some people will only remember me for the band, and that's fine. But who I was as a husband, who I was inside the walls of my home, that is my legacy. And just to constantly strive to be better. And yeah, I mean, my wife has been through so much, and has just over the last couple of years, it's been really, really tough for both of us. Losing. We lost our dog of 15 years, who was our child, and Brittany just lost her mom. We actually just flew back from the funeral yesterday. And it's just been such a tough season, and I am so honored to be the person that goes through those things with her. And I want to always find ways to be better at it.